Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour. I am Kyle Anthony, your host for today. We are talking UFC Vegas 99. We've got Anthony Hernandez versus Nicolau Pereira. We're going to be breaking down 4 plays here on the show today. Last weekend, our smash spot of the week was Abdul Razak Al Hassan, and it did fall through there. It was a canceled fight. Fremd didn't make weight. It probably saved a couple years on his life. He was going to get sparked out. But this weekend, I do have 2 4% plays this weekend. Really excited about it. And I actually have a PFL play. I don't always go to those organizations here, but when I do find the right spots, I like to hammer it. And I've got a 4% play in PFL, and I will be adding to that pack as well as another pack for UFC. I already have a 4% play up and another play. So really looking to dominate this weekend. Over 90 units on the year. Gotta keep it going. So if you want to become a client, link down in the description. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment. Appreciate all those things that do push the algorithm. So appreciate you on that. With it being said, let's get into the main event of the evening between Anthony Hernandez and Nicolau Pereira. This is a spot here where you've got Hernandez, fluffy Hernandez. You got him where he is going to push a high wrestling pace. He's going to look to come forward, and he's going to be relentless with it throughout the fight. And on the other side here, you've got Pereira, who really a well-rounded guy, but very explosive and does have some good striking. Now, when you're looking at this fight here, really the first thing, again, is going to be how fluffy really manipulates these fights, how he goes out there, dives at legs, will not stop doing that. And there's a difference here when I kind of break down fighters that are wrestlers, that are wrestle-heavy guys. In this spot here, you've got Hernandez, who averages 7 takedowns per 15 minutes. Now, as high as that is, you can also start to look at it as a little bit of a bad thing, just because he's got good cardio. He can push a pace. He will relentlessly push forward. But the other part of it is the fact that, he's struggling on control time. He's struggling keeping opponents down. It's struggling to hold position. And that can really open up opportunities here because, yes, he will be doing that. But the other part of it is that, he does have a 49% takedown success rate. Not very high, but I think what also looks bad, a part of that, is who he's faced over these last few fights and what he's done to them. Yes, he's gotten some wins. Yes, he's gotten some submissions. Some of them were a little bit later in the fight, rounds 2 and round 3 and stuff like that. But he was 2 for 14 on takedowns against a kickboxer, Roman Kopylov, which I think is not impressive. The next one was against Edmen Shahbazyan. Edmen Shahbazyan was 6 for 14 on Shahbazyan, who really struggles with grappling, has terrible cardio, can be taken down by almost anybody. And he was able to do that. Yes, Hernandez went out there and got the job done. But this 49% takedown success rate is going to be tested against the 94% takedown defense rate of Pereira. And I think there's multiple reasons why he will really be successful in kind of creating space and kind of creating opportunities to work at range. And I think the first thing here is going to be his physicality and strength. He is really a massive guy. Since moving up from 170 pounds to 185, this guy has looked sensational. 3-0 run there, all of the wins coming by finishing the first round, 2 submissions, 1 knockout. I mean, really has looked good. But I think the physicality here, and also the lack thereof in physicality for Fluffy here, where, Fluffy doesn't have that. Again, his weaponizing of cardio is high. It is good. There's definitely a lot to be said about that. But I do think that the unorthodox style of Pereira, his explosive power, his movement, all these unorthodox and awkward things that he does, I think it's going to really cause a lot of problems for Fluffy to really kind of time takedowns, work inside. I think he wants nothing to do with the stand-up. He's going to have to dive at legs. So mixing up that strength and physicality, mixing in with the unorthodox type of striking, I think is going to cause a lot of problems here. And again, the frame, you've got Pereira, who is a massive guy. I think that Hernandez is going to be very undersized in this spot. And if this fight does play out on the feet, you're going to see Pereira really tee off on Hernandez. I think Hernandez uses his striking to cut distance. He'll use it to kind of push forward, throw big shots, and just keep doing that. And if he doesn't get it, I do think that Pereira is going to really find big shots. He's going to have the way better striking, the far more better power. And I think that also is not going to be able to really keep Hernandez from kind of just keeping distance when he wants to, because Pereira's going to walk him down. He's going to be not scared of the power. He's going to be not scared of the physicality. And I think he brings a lot of those big things to the cage here. I do think the wrong guy is favored in this spot. We are seeing some line movement here, but I do believe that Pereira is the right spot here. I think he has a lot of big talent here. And I think the last thing that I do have to talk about is the cardio. A lot, we keep thinking about, or at least some people will think about, Pereira when he fought Tristan Colony and how shitty that looked and how bad that performance looked. But you got to remember also that was back in 2019. You also got to remember that was at 170 pounds. You also got to remember that he was doing a full-on dance routine walking into the cage. And then you also got to remember the fact that he was doing backflips and jumping off the cage in that first round and was actually having some success, but then just drained his cardio completely. He's not doing that. He's being more economical with his cardio. I think this is a spot where Pereira really can go out there, dominate, and I do believe there is a KO opportunity here for him to get it done. But at this plus money price here, I do like Pereira to get the job done in the main event. Next one here we're going to be talking about is going to be Asu Almabayev minus 192. Versus Nicolau at plus 148. Now, Almabayev here, he is going to push a wrestling pace. We know what he's going to be doing there, and he's going to sell out for the takedowns for as long as he can and really look to do that over the 3 rounds. Now, you got Nicolau, clean striker overall, but very well-rounded. And really the big issue for Nicolau, because we're going to say some good things, we're also going to say some bad things here. The first is the fact that his chin is just very suspect when you look at it. Nicolau has a very suspect chin. He's been clipped, knocked down, wobbled multiple times, coming off of back-to-back knockout losses. But the thing here is that it was high-level guys, and that's something that I think is a little bit overstated about his chin. Yes, he can be clipped. Yes, he can be knocked out. I do not have the highest, I guess, how great I feel about his chin. But with that being said, yes, he can be knocked out. There's no doubt. Could he get clipped? Yes, he could. But I do think that, there are some advantages here. And I do think that he does have some good striking. But you also look at it that, Almabayev is going to look for the wrestling. I don't think that the power, he's going to be looking to fire off these big shots, which could actually help the chin of Nicolau through this fight. If it's going to be a wrestling type of fight, if it's going to be mostly him diving at legs and scrambles and those types of things, Nicolau is a high-level jiu-jitsu guy. He can, work in some submissions. He's got some good scrambles. He's got, some good ability to sweep, do reversals. He has that ability, even an opportunistic submission game as well. If he finds something, he's going to latch onto it. So that could protect his chin in this particular spot, because I don't think Almabayev is going to be swinging for the fences at any point really throughout this fight, because it's not really his game. For the most part, most of his wins are, submissions, decisions. Most of them seem to be decisions. And that's more where this is probably going to go for it. And then also the fact that, on the feet, I do think he can compete on the ground, but on the feet, Nicolau has good hand speed, good footwork, good shot selection. Again, the combination developed pretty quickly. And I think if he works his angles and can defend some of these takedowns and at least scramble to get back to his feet, this line starts to seem very wide when you're looking at it overall. And, and lastly, I think that the recency bias of the last 2 fights, of how bad it looked, him getting knocked out. But you also got to remember, again, the guys he lost to, Brandon Royval threw a crazy knee that would knock out many guys and gets the victory there. And then Alex Perez threw a big hook, dropped him. But these are 2 high-level guys, and these 2 guys are competing. We just saw what Royval did last week. We did pick that one there. But you did see what Royval did. And so it's not that he's losing to these guys. And Almabayev, this is a big step up in competition for him. I think that this is a great buy low spot, not a smash spot, but a very good buy low spot here. You're talking about if this line continues to widen, and I do think that we're going to keep seeing money coming in on Almabayev in this spot here. But I think that the striking, I think that the footwork, the distance management, some of these things are really getting overlooked here just because, the last 2 fights weren't so good for him. But I do think this is a buy low spot. So this for me is really a dog or pass spot, staying away from Almabayev in this spot here. And I do think that the value is on Nicolau. So I'm taking Nicolau plus 148. Next one here we're going to be talking about is Daniel Pineda minus 112 against Darren Elkins minus 108. So we got to pick a price here. And this is one where the line actually opened for Pineda minus 150 and, minus 150, 160. Money has consistently come in on Elkins, and we're actually even seeing it even more as I was setting up to get this podcast going. I was looking at the line. The line's coming in even closer. There's a chance we're going to see a flip here and see that Elkins also doesn't become the favorite. But, I don't hate that play, right? I don't hate the play of, Elkin plus money. I would like a little bit more plus money, but I do see why people may be taking that type of side. But for me, you look at Pineda and you look at Elkins. Now, both of them have a lot of flaws. There's no doubt that both of them do a lot of stupid shit in the cage. And, you got cardio concerns, you've got chin concerns, you've got damage concerns. You've got a lot of different things that are going on there. But I do think early in this fight, is going to be the key for Pineda. And, he's a kill or be killed kind of guy. He's going to come forward. He's going to throw. He's not going to care. He's going to throw caution to the wind. And he throws hard. He's a hard hitter. He can mix it up very well. He's going to push forward. I think out of his 40 career fights, I think 2 or 3 of them went to the decision. So he's willing to go out there and go out on his shield. And the aggressive forward pressure is going to be a lot here, because I think that you look at Elkin, and as much as he's a fan favorite kind of guy, just because the way that he fights, but he doesn't really fight that well in certain spots here. I mean, if you just look at systematically looking at each part of his fight game, I mean, striking is very sloppy. His wrestling, sloppy. Top control, very sloppy. His striking defense is sloppy. Really, the best things that he has is just the toughness and the willingness to keep pushing forward, and just a pace, a wrestling, even if it's not that great. There's points where he's completely bludgeoned and bleeding all over the place, but he's just diving at legs. And yes, that can be possible for Pineda, where Pineda has shown cardio issues. That can be a concern here. But I do think this is a spot where early on, Pineda can pour it on here. I think he can really land some huge shots, damage the damage, and really hurt him big. And I think that first round is really going to swing heavy towards him, and that could set the pace for the rest of this fight overall. And you've even seen that, yes, Pineda, is a guy that hasn't gotten so many decisions in his career, but the last few fights, he has, and I think also going off of that is the fact that, maybe the more money is coming in on Elkin because, again, of some recency bias. And I think that's a little overstated even in this spot. I think it's kind of overstated here where, the last 2 fights that Pineda had, those were actually really tough stylistic matchups. I mean, he fought Nathaniel Wood and Alex Caceres. I think those are tough matchups for a guy who's a brawler, who's a grappler, who wants to swing and bang. You've got Nathaniel Wood and Caceres, who are guys who are going to work at distance, have good footwork, quick hands, really working their angles, not giving too much, not, really, exposing themselves, throwing a big hook and allowing counters to happen. They're very conservative, and they have the good footwork, and that really caused a lot of problems for Pineda, why he was losing those fights. And Elkin is not that kind of guy. He's going to stand in the middle. He's going to throw. He's going to look to wrestle. He's going to swing. Even if he starts to get hit hard, he's just going to come back and swing hard. He's not going to look to play defense or play it safe. I think that's why Pineda has an opportunity here. Now, I want to see where this line goes here, because, again, it's consistently, slowly coming in. There's a possibility to probably even get plus money in this spot here. But I like Pineda. I think that Elkin, at this point, they're both, in their 40. I think it's 40 for Elkin, 39 for Pineda. But either way, I feel like Pineda may have, definitely has the less MMA mileage, where you've got Elkin, the guy's been bludgeoned constantly. I think that the first jab that lands is probably going to bust this guy's nose wide open. So I think even on that part of just damage and seeing all the blood that's going to be all over the place for Elkin, I do think that actually could bank some rounds for Pineda either way. So I do like Pineda here. I think that he can get the job done, and we'll see where this line goes. But I'm taking him right now, Daniel Pineda minus 112. And the last one here we're going to be talking about is going to be Elise versus Jessica Penne. Now, this is one here I'm not going to spend too much time on, but I did want to talk about it. Now, I know that this is a low level, women's MMA fight. Both of these females have, a lot of flaws also. There's a lot of things that they don't do well. But there's a one spot here where you've got one woman who's podcasting and OnlyFans and looking for other things outside of the cage. And at least the other one's like wants to be a fighter still. And I think that starts to, kind of point you in the direction of Elise Reed, just stylistically, which we'll talk about in a second. But I think the other big part is you look at is Elise Reed is 10 years younger than Jessica Penne. Now you've got a 41-year-old in Penne who's knocking on the door of 42. I think it was December or January, somewhere around there, that she's going to be 42 years old. So this is like the end. This is the end of her career. And I think she's retired. I think there's been all these kinds of things. She's back. She's just not focusing on fighting. And there's no way she is at all at this point. She's not trying to make some title run here. This is a little bit, hey, I'll make some money and we'll just move on. I've got other things going on outside of the UFC. Good for her. But I think, style-wise, I think that's bad. So you got a 41, 42-year-old. And you also had the fact that she hasn't fought in a year and a half. That to me is also terrible. So you added now some ring rust. You add the fact that she may not even be fully focused on MMA, age going on here. I think Elise Reed, on top of that, makes me think that this line is not wide enough. I think this line should be a minus 250 or higher. I don't see where Penne really finds success. I think that Elise Reed's going to have the better striking, the better hand speed, better footwork. And also, I think that Penne really her path, if there is one, would be takedowns. And she's not good with takedowns. I don't expect her takedowns to be all of a sudden fantastic at 41 years old, where this could be her last fight. Who knows? So I like this spot here for Elise Reed. Minus 165, I think is still a short number. I think this should be, minus 250 or higher. I think that she could dominate all 3 rounds pretty easily against Penne here. I do like even Elise Reed by decision. But at this point here, I think that Elise Reed can even put it on her really badly early and find a way to finish Jessica here. But I do like Elise Reed minus 160 to get the job done. So there you have it for UFC Vegas 99. If you want to become a client, link it down in the description. And 2 4% plays this weekend, 1 in PFL, 1 in UFC. Let's keep it going. Let's cash.